My name is Donato and welcome to another hike across the Malverns, where today's Monday Malvern talk will be about last week's worst ever race that I've had, and I'll be going through lessons learnt, what I've found through that sufferfest. So without further ado, let's go. Be sure to watch all the way to the very end, because I'm going through a lot of things, lessons learned. I may have been running for 9 years, which is a long time for some, not long for others. And I may be 63 years old, which may be old for some, not so old for others. But I'm continually learning, adapting, and that's what I want to share in this video, because there was a hell of a lot of lessons learned. And sometimes, as we all know, we can't keep doing the same thing and expect different results. So that's my first lesson, yeah. And yeah, let's go through what happened at last week's race. And as I said, if you do enjoy this in some way or find it entertaining, educational, please do share this video and give this video a thumbs up, subscribe and hit that alarm bell. Meanwhile, let's continue with the trek across the Malverns and share with you what I learnt from my sufferfest. So many lessons to be learnt all the time. There is a phrase or quote: the day you stop learning is the day you die. Well, mentally that is, not physically. Yeah, don't be alarmed now. So I'm learning stuff every week. I don't know about every day, but I'm certainly learning new things. And first lesson when it comes to racing, especially now, as you can see behind me, beautiful hot sunshiny day. Yes, the heat has a direct impact on our racing. Yes, there's certain temperatures that we can cope with. I don't think we can train ourselves and acclimatise to running in heat, because our bodies are designed to run at the most efficient, and I mean fastest, in lower temperatures. Yeah, now whilst we can adapt and run comfortably at a higher temperature, I don't think we can perform our best at higher temperatures. And that's my point. The temperature during that 10k race was over in the 20s, and I'll talk about the second lesson because the time of day also impacts it, but it was really in the high 20s, and I basically tried to run it at regular temperature, so I was absolutely fine for the first 5k, and then things went a bit pit-tong and way off the curve and completely fell apart basically, and it was a real struggle to maintain any speed for the last 5k, despite even putting in a kick at the end. So the first lesson is temperature. I really needed to adapt it and rein it in. I really thought I'd done enough in terms of hydration, nutrition and all that, but clearly it wasn't enough on that particular one. As I had alluded about the temperatures, yes, the other factor was time of day. This particular race started at 7:30 in the evening, and you may have seen how I reacted in the Malvern 10k in the hills. I thought the way I was affected there and impacted was not just the heat, I thought it was more the hills. This particular 10k last week was super flat. It was around Pitchcroft, the same as the parkrun route, flattest route you could probably ever get, but the temperatures were in the 20s. 7:30 in the evening is probably one of the most humidest time of the day, and that was definitely a contributing factor to me flaking away. Now everyone's all racing at the same things, and I'm guessing we all can work at different things, but that certainly had an impact for me. May not have had as big an impact for others, but I don't think I paced it correctly, and the temperatures really affected me in a bad way. So lesson learnt there is to adapt the actual race strategy. But hey, when you go in and you want to compete and do your best, because I love to do my best, I certainly did suffer from that. Maybe it was the hydration, nutrition, who knows. But that goes on to my third lesson learned. The third lesson, nutrition, hydration, and because of the time of day, it's late on in the day, so I've had a day of eating and drinking. Now, I thought I'd kept it light. I thought I was fully hydrated, but clearly not hydrated enough. I think the hydration had an impact. Yes, there was water available on the course. It was multiple loop, and I didn't take on any water. Maybe I should have. I don't know. Let me know in the comments below if you think I should have taken on some water. It's the classic, you want to race as fast as you can, but to take on glasses of water, you can't just grab it and go. You have to literally stop and drink it without spilling it, yeah? Which, going at 10k pace, is a bit of a challenge. So maybe that was another factor contributing to that. Or am I just getting too old for all this? We'll talk more about that in a moment. Before I go on about the am I getting too old for this, I'll talk more about that in the next point. An extension of the time of day and how that may impact us. It's not just the temperature and the humidity. For me, it's having had a whole day of, as I say, eating, drinking and nutrition, but also my body is not used to running, let alone racing at that time of the evening. My body is used to exercising and running first thing in the morning, yeah? Now, that may sound obvious to a lot of people, and yes, everybody's in the same boat, but are they, a lot of people do train lunchtimes, afternoons, evenings, so they'd be better adapted at racing in the evening than I would. Also, there's the factor for me, slightly connecting with the am I getting too old for this, around 7:30 in the evening I have properly wound down and I'm switching off, almost ready for bed. So getting my body to switch on and get ready to race at the age of 63, well, that's a big ask, isn't it? Yeah. So getting on to the next point, yeah, am I really getting too old for this? Because there's a number of factors in that. When it comes to getting too old for this, there's a number of factors, and also not forgetting, and one of the other factors that I'm taking into account is literally 10 days before I ran the Great North 10k more than 2 minutes quicker, despite it being considerably hilly compared to the Pitchcroft 10k, which is totally flat. So that in itself is an indicator of how I perform differently morning time. I think that race started, what time was it? Did it start 9:30, 10:30? I can't remember. It was morning time. I think it was 10:30, and yeah, this one was 7:30. So those hours differences do have an impact. But the age thing, there's two factors in terms of age. As I said, for me of my age, around 7:30, I'm beginning to switch off, bedtime and all that, yeah? So, cocoa and slippers, that type of thing. But the other factor is Mother Nature. The muscles, are deteriorating. My body is going downhill. Yeah, let's make no bones about it. This is no way of sugarcoating it. Yes, there are strength training and all sorts of things we can do to slow the process down, but it's slow the process, not stop the process. The process will continue. You only have to look at world record race times as they progressively get slower as the people get older. And even if you look at the world records, which are often set by the same person, as they get older it gets slower. And it's the same at all distances. That's just how it is. And that's my whole point about am I getting too old. Being 63, I'm giving away a number of years for those in my age category, 60 to 65, 60 to 70. I do feel for those, in terms of when it turning up to races and the age categories are in 10-year gaps. That's a massive time to make up, which it doesn't work if you know the masters race routines, the race things. Whenever someone turns a key age, whether it be 50, 55, 60, 65, they know once you turn that age, say you become 60, you're going to be the fittest, strongest in that 60 to 64 group. Yeah, just physically, that's just how it is. And that's the best time in terms of qualifying, getting good race times, and beating your competitors, and as you get older it gets tougher to compete in those. So that's not saying that there are people out there are outliers. You only have to look at Tommy Hughes, set another world record at 10 mile. He broke the half marathon world record the other week, and now he's set a 10-mile world record for age 64. So he's breaking the age world records at these distances. But Tommy's been running all his life. He was represented Ireland at Barcelona Marathon back in, was it 1992? So there's always going to be an exception. Age, we can't stop it. So yes, many lessons to be learnt there. Hopefully you've found some of these useful. Have you got any nuggets of information that you want to share? As I'm here across the beautiful Malvern Hills, it is absolutely fabulous over here. Beautiful sunshiny day, but I love coming here whatever the weather. Obviously I'm dressed appropriately for this type of weather. If it was raining, then I'd probably have a raincoat on, but it's absolutely beautiful. Great way of sharing information with you. And for me, lots of lessons learnt from that. But for me, I think I need to look ahead and think a number of factors. Is evening races actually good for me? Because for me, it was more about what happened after the race, not just during the race, and what impacted the race performance. Yes, I ran over 2 minutes, nearly 3 minutes quicker at the Great North 10K 10 days before. My fitness would not have deteriorated that much, yeah, especially running on a flat course. So time of day, all sorts of those factors. But the other thing is evening races for me. So following what happened after the Malvern 10K and after last week's Pitchcroft 10K, I felt absolutely awful, you know, when I'd finished. Not immediately after, it's just standard stuff, you know, you're out of breath, but it's the post-race recovery which I felt extremely dizzy, faint, not very coherent, not good. And certainly after this one I was getting all sorts of stomach cramps, and then about 20 minutes later I was getting muscle cramps, leg cramps coming in, all sorts of issues. But the stomach cramps concerned me quite a bit, because I went to see my GP a couple of weeks back with some stomach pains that I was getting, and there may be some gastric issues that are going on. I had to do a poop test and send that in, but I've not heard anything back. But whilst that pain had subsided, there might be some other stuff going on in my body, which basically is age. Yeah, as we get older, things start falling apart, dropping off or being taken out. Yes, I've had lots of things taken out and removed from my body over the past sort of 4 years. Yeah, it's not been good. And yeah, and prior to that, you know, certainly in my teens and 20s, I had all sorts of medical issues, which is probably one of the reasons why I didn't take up any form of sports, because I was always ill. Sick. But hey, these things happen. As you can see and you can hear, you know, I'm keeping it a bit light. I don't want to be overly concerned about this, because right now I feel absolutely epic, and I hope you feel too. And that is it in terms of this video. I don't know if I've edited in some clips that I may have borrowed from some other YouTube channels to show you how splendid it looks here. But yeah, I absolutely love it. It's great for the soul. So I'm going to continue my hike around here, all part of the training for me, recovery, and we're going to be hot footing with earnest, because it's 10 weeks now, I think, till Berlin Marathon. I should have already done 2 weeks of marathon training, but I've just been doing regular training. So yeah, the mileage is going to start going up. So yeah, Berlin Marathon, here we come, along with a number of other events in between now and then. See you all soon. Toodle pip. As an addendum, something I forgot to mention that I published last week was a podcast first one in a long time, and it was well worth the wait because it was with the amazing Matt Fox, who runs Sweat Elite here on YouTube. So get over and watch that interview because it's an interview like no other. And I don't think Matt has experienced anything like that before. Whether he will again, who knows? But I certainly enjoyed my time both with Matt, and I think Matt had a great time too, sharing some insights on not just Sweat Elite, but also his 220 marathon running, and also how he tried with the Olympic trials, 800 metres, back in 2012 to get into the Australian team, and also his love of Aussie rules football. Yes, did you know that? Yes, a lot more nuggets like that in that podcast, so get over to that, have a look through on my what was published last week, and you'll see it's Matt Fox Sweat Elite. Get to it.